Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I know it's a little bit late in the month for this, but welcome to my July wrap-up. You're welcome that it's like halfway through the month. But I didn't really read a whole lot in July. Not for me anyways, so I wasn't really gonna do a wrap-up. But I thought we could do like a rapid-fire wrap-up. Because there's only 10 books on my wrap-up for July, which, like, 10 books is a decent number of books to read in a month. It really doesn't matter how fast or how slow you read a book or how many books you read in a month or a year. I just happen to be someone who, like, my average is like 20 to 30 books a month. But I was in a really big reading slump in July, so it's okay if you don't read anything or if you read a whole lot. It really doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter that I only read 10 books, but for me it just doesn't feel like a whole lot. So I'm just gonna rapid fire these. I'm gonna try and put my pictures of my books over here and give you like 1 or 2 sentences and my reading. The first book I read in July was Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This was a cute romance. I don't remember the main characters' names, but they are trying to get their bosses set up. Like, I think that their bosses are exes, and they're trying to get their bosses back together, and instead they end up falling in love. It was cute. I gave it 4 stars. I still like the Ex Talk better by this author, but it was a fun romance. Then we go from a 4-star to a 2-star, which is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I was trying to read like a list of like 50-ish books to tell you if those are really the best books of 2022. I'm still working on that project, but I did not like this book at all. It's like an erotic love letter from Dracula's bride to Dracula, but not really Dracula. I think that the vampire that she is referring to is never named in that book. I just felt like it was just smut, no plot, and it's not my personal taste. Then I read The Jungle Book by Rudyard Kipling. It was cute. It was fine. I gave it 3 stars, but watch the movie. Whoops. Then I read Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, and it's not my favorite Ali Hazelwood. I still gave it like 3.5 stars. I think on Goodreads it says 4 stars, but if you could do half stars, it would be 3.5. It read more like a young adult romance, and I hate young adult romances. Then I read Yours Truly by Abby Hemensey, and this was a 5-star read for me. It is the second in the Part of Your World series. I'm not sure how many more we're going to get in that companion novel series, but it was just so adorable, and I just love the representation of like anxiety and not being perfect all the time, because a lot of romances are just like insta love, it's perfect, the relationship's perfect, the people are perfect, and everything's just so happily ever after, so perfect. But like, that's not real life. Nothing's really perfect, and that comes from someone who wishes she could be perfect, but she knows that there's no such thing as perfect in real life. But still, I strive for I strive for perfection. But it was a really, really good, adorable romance. And it felt like the grand gestures in here. I mean, there was one really big grand gesture, but the like gestures that they both love interests do for the other is so just relatable. It's like she suffers from anxiety, so she goes to the broom closet to enjoy her lunch. Well, he goes to the supply closet to eat lunch with her. And it's just like little cutesy moments like that. But I really, really enjoyed this book. It made me smile so much. So much. Then I read The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. And oh my gosh, this was the biggest surprise of the entire year, my entire reading life. So, first off, it's a bookish book, which usually I don't like. And there's like magic in it, which like, I'm not a fantasy reader. But you follow Lucy, who grew up reading the Clock Island books. It's like this series of magical books, and you do get snippets of those books in The Wishing Game. But Lucy works at the school as a TA, and she's trying to look out for this boy who lost his family, and she's trying to basically become his foster mom. But because she doesn't make enough as a TA, and you know, she has debt of her own, she's struggling to even make it afloat for herself. And then she gets invited to Clock Island, where the author has just written a new book, but he's only going to make one copy of it. And whoever, out of the people that were invited to this island, whoever wins this game is going to win that unpublished book, and they can do whatever they want with it, you know, probably make a bunch of money because they can release it or whatever they want. And Lucy really wants to win it so that she can make enough money to provide for Christopher. I think his name is Christopher. And it was just such a wholesome, magical read that kind of made me think of my childhood a little bit. And I loved every second of that book. I don't know what my best books of the year is going to look like yet, but that might be on it, if not at the very top. We're going from a 5-star to a DNF. I DNF'd Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. This is a short story collection. I read the first 4 short stories, and it was just body horror galore, and that's not my thing. Then I read Never Saw Me Coming by Vera Kieran. I didn't like this book. It's been recommended to me, and it's like this revenge type of story that takes place on a college setting where these like 7 or 8 psychopaths are going to this college where they have this study going about how do psychopaths' brains work, and then people in the psychopath program are starting to die. And it's like this investigation of who is killing all the psychopaths at this school. And I just didn't like it. I thought the characters were boring. I never really got to know any of the characters, but more than anything, the reason I hated this book was not even any of that. It was just the fact that, like, I don't feel like it was well researched. And yes, you could stereotype all psychopaths and say that this is true for all psychopaths. Obviously, some things are going to be the same for psychopaths as a general rule, but I just felt like, I don't even think the author meant to, but I just felt like the author didn't really take the time to research anything or really talk to anyone, because like I have a psychology degree. Yeah, I'm a teacher, but I have a children's psychology degree, and I know it's going to be different in children and adults, but this first off read like a young adult. I know they're in college, but they felt very young, which could have been a reason why I didn't like it, but also more than that, it was just, it didn't feel good enough to me. It just felt like stereotypical psychopath things and not like real. I don't know if that makes sense or if I'm just going off on a tangent and whatever, but we'll just move on. The next one is a nonfiction. I don't write nonfiction, and I've said it 1,000,001 times, but I won't read nonfiction because I don't want to tell you that your story is bad or good, or see, my ratings are subjective, and I know that ratings in general are subjective, but it's like something that you can connect with. I'm gonna give a book that I can connect with more ratings because I connected with it, or if I felt really deeply emotional, I'm gonna give it a better rating. But with nonfiction, I don't read nonfiction for enjoyment all the time. I read a lot of hard-hitting nonfiction that's really hard to read, that's hard to stomach, that how could that be true? So I don't read nonfiction because I can't tell you that your story's not good enough or anything like that. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but anyways, I read The Last Black Unicorn by Tiffany Haddish, and Tiffany Haddish is a hilarious comedian, and I feel like I connected with her more through her book because I got to know a little bit about her, a little bit about behind her jokes that she talks about, or the jokes that she says on stage, and I just felt like we connected a lot, so I did really enjoy it, but I'm not going to give it a rating. And then the last book I read in July was The Whispers by Ashley Audrain. Oh, I didn't like that book either. I give it 2 stars. It's like a suburban housewife mystery. I thought it was a murder mystery. It's not. It's about these moms that have this barbecue right before school starts, and their kids are there, their husbands are there, whatever, and then one of the moms goes off on her son because he was acting like a child, and then he falls out of a window the next day, and everyone is speculating that she pushed him, and then he's like in a coma for a while. And by premise, that sounds pretty good, but you get too many different characters to keep up with, and you never really get to know them that much. Plus, they're really, really unlikable, and I just did not care at the end of the day that the kid was in a coma, which just makes me sound like a monster, but I didn't care, and since I didn't care, I didn't really connect to the story, and I just didn't care. It all felt like petty rich people drama. So if that is your thing, you might like The Whispers by Ashley Audrain. It's kind of literary though, which like I fiction. I like literary fiction if it's done well, but it just was too much like rich people suburban housewife drama. Not my thing. On this one I can actually see why someone would like it, but that's just not something that I enjoy reading. So thank you for staying with me for this rapid fire July wrap up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to give a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're new around here. Bye!